graffiti inflicts someone else's nickname on your fucking property.
Property?
On your house.
What? Whose house? Do you own a house?
I own several houses.
Well, maybe I feel as though the idea of owning property that other people live in doesn't make me feel so comfortable. I live in a co-op where there is no landlord, and I feel as though that's you remove the profit margin from it. Why should somebody be making a profit off of other people living?
Because what? So you're still, this was the way I used to feel when I was an anarchist punk rocker. You think rent is wrong?
No, there are costs that keep a building from falling down, keep the infrastructure operative, keep the sidewalks from, crumbling apart, keep the hedges trimmed, etc. There's running costs, there's operating costs. But I live in a co-op, and there's nobody making a profit off of it. So
yeah, but that's an artificially maintained economic model that the government has enforced.
Well, so are the millions of dollars of tax breaks for all of the high rises. That's an artificially that's welfare for the millionaires, billionaires, gazillionaires. You can't look at any single one of those towers in Williamsburg and not realize that they're essentially being bankrolled by these tax breaks.
So they don't deserve it. They didn't build that. They don't deserve those buildings. They didn't earn it.
Well, why don't they could pay tax on it, like I pay taxes, like everybody else pays taxes.
The rich pays a lot of fucking tax.
Not proportionally. They don't pay enough.
You don't think so?
No.
If you make over $250,000 a year in New York City, you're looking at about 50% tax. That's not including the daily sales tax and all the other taxes you pay.
So how come there's still not enough money to pave the FDR Drive?
Because there aren't enough rich people.
New York City's got more rich people per square inch than any place on the planet Earth.
And no one's done the math. If you do the math, you realize that taxing them all at 99% isn't going to pay this massive deficit.
I think it will.
I can show you the math. It doesn't add up, Jeff.
Well, I think
it's this myth. There's this big pot of money sitting somewhere that would solve all our problems.
I think it would help. It wouldn't solve all of them, but it would solve a lot of them.
We're at 18 trillion. That's not even close. All the billionaires in the country added together couldn't even take a chip out of 18 trillion.
Well, no, I strongly disagree. I feel as though if you're saying that America does not have the resources to pave the FDR Drive, that we're in much worse condition than.
I'm saying the American rich don't have enough to pay the debt. They don't have enough. They don't have 18 trillion.
Well, they might not have enough money to keep dropping bombs on other countries, but they certainly have enough money.
That's not a big cost either.
It's a pretty significant cost.
That's $600 million.
I think the American infrastructure in terms of education, healthcare.
We hurl money at education. Affordable. Why does affordable housing exist?
Because we need to live somewhere. Why should I need to be a millionaire just to live?
Because you want to live in a millionaire place. If you don't have the money, you have to commute. You don't get to live in Zurich. Why should you live in downtown Zurich?
Well, right. That's what Marie Antoinette would have said. But, there's...
It's not your right to live anywhere you want. You don't get to eat at the fanciest restaurant.
Well, no, but you should live... What about, the fact that people live in neighborhoods that then... like these people that just lost their homes on East 7th Street due to this fire. Why should they have to lose the neighborhood and the community that they've lived in for decades just because there's not, because there's going to be absolutely no, no consideration for the fact that they live there. Why is my home not my home? There you have there's absolutely no priority placed on somebody's sense of where they live and what they contribute to just being where they are. If it's all about dollars...
This sounds like we have a fundamental difference of mentality where you're seeing it from what my country can do for me, and I'm seeing it as what you can do for your country. Yes, it was tragedy that building blew up, and that building should be insured, and they should get money to help them get a new apartment. But you have apartment insurance for that.
Well...
How much is apartment insurance? It's like $80 a year.
Well, I'm not under any illusion that I'm going to suddenly walk out of here and you'll be voting for Ralph Nader or anything. So I don't even know what this podcast is. But here I am, having taken the lovely MTA bus over here for $2.75, and all these poor working schlubs on the bus experienced a pretty significant 45-minute delay. I don't know how stressed out they were about getting to wherever they were going, but seems to me that somebody with more money would have just jumped in a cab, gotten across town, and
that's the advantage
right there,
of making more money. I mean,
right. So do you think that it's feasible that everybody in New York City, 8 million people, can just snap their fingers and be like, well, it does make more sense to have more money, therefore I'll make more money?
they're not as good as people who are rich.
They're not as good at what?
At chemistry. If you're a brilliant biochemist, then you will come up with patents that help solve cancer, and that in the free market, because no one wants cancer, is worth about $100 million. If that guy buys a building, then he deserves all the rent money from that building because he's so fucking smart that he made the world a better place by helping to cure cancer.
Well, you think if I had cancer and there was a cancer treatment, if I had a bunch of money, I deserve that cancer treatment more than somebody else who doesn't have a bunch of money deserves that cancer treatment?
No, of course not.
So if there's something that makes,
I'm just
if
saying,
if there was something that could cure cancer, are you saying that is something you would put a money value on, that would cost money to get, and therefore somebody with more money deserves their life
the way around
more
that
than
is
somebody with less
we
money?
come up with an insurance plan. But I'm not talking about the cancer patient. I'm saying there's this assumption that people with money somehow cheated or got it from their daddy, and it totally ignores the bootstrap billionaires who are a good 2/3.
What do you feel about inheritance? What do you think about inheritance?
It usually doesn't last.
I'm sure no millionaires inherited anything.
No,
I'm sure inheritance isn't a factor whatsoever in the current caste system.
I just told you it's about a third. A third of billionaires
you're plucking
were
these
born
numbers
rich.
out of thin air. But
No, I've looked into it.
I think the average person would.
Yeah, but all your shit is I think, and it's probably. I've looked into this. Well, 2/3 of the world's billionaires grew up poor.
I would be surprised to hear that. Whatever, we could look at stats. But so you think that you think that the world wouldn't change at all if there was no more inheritance? If everybody that died a millionaire, that money went into society rather than went to their relatives, you think everything would end up the same? You don't think there's any kind of
this has been done.
There's any kind of built-in caste system that means that if your parents are rich, you are more likely to grow up rich than somebody whose parents are poor are likely to grow up rich. Are you really going to tell me that somebody who grows up with rich parents is less likely to end up rich than somebody who grows up with poor parents?
No, I'm not going to say that, but I am. You're totally ignoring genetics with this mythical world of equality where we're all born the same. No, some people are born genetically smarter.
Well, maybe we should go around measuring. Maybe we should go around measuring people's heads and seeing who's genetically. So, oh wait, they tried that a couple hundred years ago, and it ended up didn't end up so good for a bunch of people.
Ended up pretty good for a bunch of people. It ended up great for Sweden.